After getting beaten 2-0 by Atletico Madrid, our Champions League status is teetering on the brink and we're going to need a miracle to get through to the next round. Luckily, we've got the chance to avenge that loss today in an episode you do not want to miss. But as ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe and let's get into today's episode. The former Liverpool man Darwin Núñez was the man who shot down our hopes of victory in the Champions League first leg, leaving us all to do in the second, but the only saving grace is that we are going to be bringing them back to England, back to Villa Park in front of our own fans, in the hope that we can put on a better performance this time round. From the lows of the Champions League though to the highs of the FA Cup, as we managed to beat Spurs in the fourth round and we've been drawn a pretty favourable draw in the quarter-final against Aston Villa, and as you can see from the remaining teams in the competition, we have a really good shot of going all the way this season. On top of that, we are continuing our rich vein of form in the Premier League, still remaining top of the table, 1 point clear of our title rivals Manchester City. Is this the year that Aston Villa can do something special? And if it is going to be the case, we are going to be continuously relying on the goals of these two men. Moussa Diaby chipping in with 13 goals in 27 appearances, and Ollie Watkins returns to the top of the goal-scoring charts with 14 goals in 25 appearances. For me, though, our success isn't just down to these two players, but to the other players in the team who are really chipping in as well. The likes of Santiago Jimenez, Nicolo Zaniolo, Jacob Ramsey, Youri Tielemans, Leon Bailey, and even Wilfred Gnonto, as well as Emi Buendia, are all chipping in with good goals and good assists and keeping us right at the top of the pack in the Premier League. And even if morale has taken a slight hit in the squad due to that loss against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, it's good to know that I've got this man Santiago Jimenez back in the good books. He's complained to the media a couple of times this season due to a lack of game time, but I've listened, he appreciates that, and I am very confident he can continue this fine vein of form he's on. And if we are going to continue the rich vein of form we are on in the Premier League, we're going to have to do it away at our arch rivals Wolves at the Molineux. It's a team who have had our number throughout this entire career mode. We are yet to pick up a win against them, or even yet to find the back of the net against them. We have to make sure, if we want to keep our title hypes alive, that we've got to make a change here today. And speaking of changes, there are several changes to my usual starting 11 due to that fatigued-induced Champions League game in midweek. Martinez does keep his place in goal, but Matty Cash, Diego Carlos, Konza and Moreno all come in at the back. Douglas Luiz is partnered by Tielemans and Fratesi in the centre. Gnonto starts on the left. Leon Bailey starts on the right, and Ollie Watkins retains his place up front. So here we go then, big game in front of a raucous Wolves crowd here. They will be desperate to continue their brilliant campaign against us. Douglas Luiz into Youri Tielemans. We're going to try and look to see if we can make a much quicker start than we have done in the other games against Wolves so far in this career mode. As Moreno picks the ball up on the left-hand side, has to dink it go backwards. Instead, Fratesi does a lovely little dance around the defenders and strikes from distance. Blazes it straight at the goalkeeper. My word. Going to be Tielemans who's going to take the free kick here, and he's got options in the box if he can try and find them. I'm just going to try and dink it in, looking for the penalty spot to see if anyone can get their head on it. It's a good ball in. In the end, though, it was shaped up for the smallest man on the pitch in Gnonto, who obviously couldn't get his head on it. And now Wolves, one-on-one here, can try and hit us on the counter-attack. Nori down the left-hand side, goes round one of my defenders really nicely, but in the end, it was a really good piece of play from Matty Cash to get the ball back. Moreno, back to Diego Carlos. We've been unable to unlock a stubborn Wolves defence here in the opening 20-25 minutes. Can Matty Cash try and change that? But no, he can't. He ends up losing it. And now Hwang, nice little ball into Cunha. He has been a real thorn in my side so far in this career mode. Every single game, he seems to have a brilliant one against me. It's a lovely ball across to Neto, who strikes. Oh my word, that is potentially a contender for goal of the season. Oh my goodness, absolutely fantastic. He took it on the chest, and the first time volley, oh, that was just unbelievable. Martinez had absolutely no chance, and much to my frustration, yet again, Wolves take the lead against me. It's 1-0. I just do not know what it is about Wolves. We just cannot seem to beat them. What on earth are they saying in the dressing room? They've just got my number. I just can't seem to do anything against them. Now Wilfred Gnonto is going to try and see if he can make the difference here. Now Ollie Watkins, he's looking for a pass, threads it beautifully through to Leon Bailey, and eventually, though, he strays offside. It's Pedro Neto, the goal scorer for Wolves yet again. He's being held up by Alex Moreno. He's going to try and go past him. Instead, though, he isn't able to, but eventually he does manage to bundle his way through. Bellegarde back to Pedro Neto, and it looks like, oh, it's a silly challenge, and already inside the 33rd minute, we have gone and given away a really cheap penalty. It's Fratesi on his... Oh my word. What on earth was he doing? Really poor from the Italian, and he's put us in a really tricky spot now, as Cunha is going to step up here in front of the Wolves fans to try and double their lead here at the Molineux. Emi Martinez dives the wrong way. Cunha just dinks it over him, sends it down the middle, and he sends Wolves fans into absolute raptures It's 2-0 here at the Molineux. Well, it was a brilliant penalty. He gave me the eyes. He sent me completely the wrong way. Absolutely beautiful. Cool, calm and collected. And much to Wolves' delight, they lead 2-0. Well, I thought it was us that were peppering the Wolves goal, but just like that, in the space of about 5 or 10 minutes, they've completely flipped the script and turned the game on its head. And again, I just don't know what it is about Wolves. I just can't seem to beat them. I can't even seem to find the back of the net against them. It's unbelievable. Alex Moreno, though, is going to try and make a difference. Into Ollie Watkins, who's come deep. Look at the men that they've got up here, though. It's into Yuri Tielemans. He strikes! And finally, we do find the back of the net. It's the Belgian Yuri Tielemans who came into the box late, and he absolutely rifled a left-footed shot into the top right-hand corner. Beautiful piece of build-up play. It was all the hard work of Ollie Watkins. He just waited and waited and waited for the run of Yuri Tielemans, and eventually found him, and he gave the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. A bullet of a strike. It's 2-1. Oh my word, what a first half we've had here at the Molineux. It's been end-to-end stuff every single time. Either team looks like they're going to go forward. They look like they're going to score here. How on earth is this game going to end? It potentially could end up about 5-4 at this rate. But now it's Hwang who's going to look to try and make an immediate impact and restore Wolves' 2-goal lead. But Matty Cash came across with a beautiful piece of defending and brings it out of defence. Pedro Neto for Wolves to start off this second half, and they have started off in the ascendancy. Bellegarde can't go past Konza though. Really, really good block there from the centre-back. And now Wilfred Gnonto is released down the left-hand side. Oh, he's done a really good job of finding a ball out to Fratesi, who's just going to wait for the underlapping run, I should say, of Alex Moreno. He drives in the box. I'm going to try and look for the cutback here into Ollie Watkins. What a save from Jose Sarr, and that has retained Wolves' lead. Again, end-to-end stuff right at the start of the second half. Both teams picking up exactly where they left off in the first. It's a ball thrown over here. Douglas Luiz with the big head. And just like that, we have turned this game on its head. We've come from 2-0 down to equalise and bring the scores back to 2-2. Well, it was a brilliant, brilliant cross from Fratesi, making up for his earlier mistake, giving away the penalty. And it was Douglas Luiz who rose highest and just looped a ball over the goalkeeper. He had no chance whatsoever as he celebrates. It's 2-2. Well, with just over 30 minutes remaining, this is anyone's to win. 2-2 here. Both teams are desperately searching for a winner, but I can sense that the tide is about to turn potentially, but Wolves could be eager to put a stop to that, as now Pedro Neto has it, fires it straight at Martinez, and we got away with one there. We've got to try and keep our sense and our professionalism and not go and give away sloppy goals. Matty Cash on the right-hand side, into Yuri Tielemans with acres of space to try and drive into here. He's going to try and find a lovely ball into Ollie Watkins. He's looking for some sort of run. In the end, can't find anyone. Juan Foyt wins it, but it ends up falling to Fratesi. He finds Alex Moreno, bursts into the box, looks for the cutback of Wilfred Gnonto. Oh, he took too long. It falls to Ollie Watkins, though, who tries to strike. It is bundled away in the end by the Wolves defenders. Konza all the way out to Alex Moreno, and the tide has most certainly turned here. We are in the ascendancy, and we are all over Wolves here, desperately hunting, searching for that third elusive goal as Wilfred Gnonto lined up a shot, and Fratesi lines up one, and in the end blazes it wide. Zaniolo orders a sub, tried to get there first, but Ain't Nori, the left back, managed to beat him to it. Now Gomez has it for Wolves. He goes past Tielemans really nicely. Hwang into Cunha. Cunha, though, is blocked off by Konza. Really good defending from the centre-back. That is exactly the sort of challenge that I needed on Wolves' most dangerous man. But Zaniolo, perhaps a little bit of rust. Goes and gives the ball away. Matty Cash tries to win it back. Doesn't do a good enough job. Hwang into Cunha. Goes one-on-one with Konza again. But again, the Englishman is alert to it. Tries to feed a ball out to Hwang. It isn't a good enough pass, though. Wolves win it back. And my word, the momentum is starting to shift again. We had a couple of decent opportunities. We didn't take advantage. And now Wolves are trying to go back at us. But it's a really good piece of defending from Douglas Luiz. But Bellegarde has just bundled his way through there. Like a bulldozer, goes through a couple of my players. He's been chased down, though, by Yuri Tielemans. Feeds it back to Ain't Nori. Ain't Nori, though, is blocked off by Tielemans on the edge of the box. Bellegarde keeps it alive. Hwang, though, has it into Cunha. And it's a bit of a tame one in the end that Martinez collects and says thank you very much. He releases it out to Alex Moreno on the left-hand side. We are deep into stoppage time, though, as the referee blows for full time. Well, it's got to be said, it's a frustrating one in the end. It was a game that we potentially could have got 3 points from. We were in the ascendancy, having managed to level the scores, but we just could not take advantage. And in the end, we were quite lucky to keep it level. As full time here at the Molineux, it finishes Wolves 2, Aston Villa 2. Well, again, I just don't know what it is about Wolves. It's 4 games in this career mode. No wins whatsoever against the West Midlands team. And it's a frustrating draw that drops us back down to second place. And with Manchester City replicating their form in real life towards the back end of the season, just consistently winning game after game after game, these are sort of the types of games that we cannot afford to drop any points from. However, with the attention now turning to the FA Cup quarter-final at home against Fulham, them. And the board eager to see us go all the way. I'm putting my trust in these 11 players that they can go and do the business without me. And they have gone and done just that. Despite Ollie Watkins missing a penalty in the 61st minute, Moussa Diaby, the Frenchman, comes to our rescue yet again. A late winner in the 86th minute to give us a hard-fought 1-0 victory and sees us go through to the semi-final. Or perhaps it was wishful thinking from me, hoping that we would be going through to the semi-final. I didn't actually realise that we've still got to play a quarter-final before we can even consider getting there. And it's a quarter-final that we have been drawn against our title rivals Manchester City in what is arguably going to be the clash of the round. And so if we're going to win the FA Cup, we're going to have to do it the hard way. Speaking of winning though, we just can't seem to stop. Goals from Ollie Watkins, Kamara and Moussa Diaby give us a 3-0 win at home against Leicester City in the Premier League. And with a much rotated side and despite Jimenez missing an early penalty, we managed to replicate that score, this time 3-0 away from home against relegation strugglers Everton, as it's another 3 points in the bag. And whilst Manchester City do still have a game in hand on us, we have managed to lift ourselves with those two back-to-back wins back up to top of the table with now a 4-point gap over our title rivals. And with the players being back in a much better headspace and morale back on track, of course it is now time to turn our attention back to the second leg of the Champions League round of 16. After a poor performance in the first leg with the nerves getting to us on the big stage, a 2-0 deficit is what we have to overcome here at Villa Park in front of our home fans. But I am confident with those fans cheering us on, we can do far better in this leg than we did the last. It is a massive game, the biggest of Aston Villa's season and arguably one of the biggest in their history. Can we go one step further in the Champions League? And if we're going to do it, we're going to do it with the best players at my disposal in our starting 11, with Martinez keeping his place in goal, the usual suspects of Bowie, Tapsoba, Torres and Estupinian out the back, Kamara, Vitina and Fatesi in the centre, Zaniolo on the left, Moussa Diaby on the right and Ollie Watkins up front. So here we go then, arguably the biggest 90 minutes of this career mode so far. It is the round of 16, the second leg against Atletico Madrid, and we have it all to do here at Villa Park. But I am really confident with the vein of form that we find ourselves in, we can do a lot better than we did the first time around, as Ollie Watkins immediately tries to go on the offensive and drives into the box. It's John Stones, the former Manchester City man, who did enough to block the shot, and it's cleared away by Atletico Madrid. Out to De Paul on the left-hand side. He finds Iglesias in the centre, and Iglesias plays it through into the danger man of Darwin Núñez. He's going to try and go past Pau Torres. He's got the strength to beat him, and then plays his strike over the bar. It looks like Martinez, though, did manage to get a touch on that. I didn't actually realise, as it's cleared away for an Atletico Madrid corner. Headed clear, though, by one of my defenders, only out as far as Bernardo Silva. Iglesias has it, though. He's held up by Sacha Bowie, who does a really good job of winning that ball back. Now we can try and stretch his legs down this right-hand side, and what a ball! That is unbelievable! What a fabulous ball from one Frenchman to another, and it's in here! Oh, my word! The man you would have bet the house on to put it in the back of the net. He just took too long, and he just bided his time, and in the end he was caught out. The goalkeeper rushed out, and that is a massive let-off for Atletico Madrid, and a huge opportunity missed from that man, Moussa Diaby. Well, I've just got to hope that he and us do not live to regret that moment. It should have been 1-0 here in the second leg, but Kamara almost got us 1-0 up. But his head, unfortunately, was just nodded wide into Ollie Watkins, coming deep to collect the ball and get himself involved. Really nice stuff from the Englishman. Zaniolo turned really nicely, and he's going to try and feed a ball into Fratesi, and that is absolutely sensational from the Italian. That is exactly the sort of reason why I decided to bring him to Villa Park in the first place. Well, it was the ball through from one Italian to another. Zaniolo just cut the defence in half, but it was the touch, the turn, and the first-time strike. Absolutely brilliant, all on one foot. Davide Fratesi, take a bow, son. All we now need is one more goal to level up the scores. But with us in the ascendancy, we have to make sure that we take these chances, because we cannot afford to keep missing, as this man Moussa Diaby can attest to with his earlier miss. But he's going to try and see if he can make amends here today. Into the box goes Ollie Watkins, and he drags his shot wide. Well, you can't argue that we are creating chances. We're just not putting the most of them into the back of the net. Only one so far to our name. We've got to make sure that we can add at least a second if we want any hope of progressing to the next round of this Champions League competition. But it's just Atletico Madrid now who have the ball with John Stones. Soyuncu, the former Leicester City man, almost challenged there by Nicolo Zaniolo. Another former Premier League man in Bernardo Silva wins it and plays it into Molina down the right-hand side. Has he got the pace to try and go past Pau Torres? No, he doesn't. He manages to keep it in play, though. Really nicely done. Darwin Núñez feeds it across into the head, though, of Tapsoba, who again manages to release us. And now Ollie Watkins, can he try and feed a ball over to Nicolo Zaniolo? It's a brilliant one, and the Italian now can drive into the box. He doesn't have any options, so he's going to have to go in alone, and That was a horrendous strike. Well, his composure just left him right at the very end. Look at that, he dragged it way wide. You could see what he was trying to do. He was going for that top corner. It just didn't come off for him though. But we've got just under 45 minutes here to desperately see if we can get a goal. If we don't, we will be crashing out of the first knockout round in the Champions League. But Koke is going to be the man to try and see if he can add a final nail in our coffin. But it's well challenged in the end. Ollie Watkins can't do enough with it. It's been a much better start here at the start of the second half by Atletico Madrid as Molina just managed to knock that past to Stupinian. He beat him and then fired it into the back post, but it's Sasha Bowie with a good head. And eventually, though, we do manage to get a free kick into Moussa Diaby. Diaby comes in the centre, and I'm going to try and fire a ball all the way over to Stupinian on the left-hand side. He manages to keep it in play. Really nicely done. And I can't, though, feed a ball down the line. Stupinian hasn't been in great form here today, which is unlike the Ecuadorian. He's been absolutely brilliant so far since joining Aston Villa at the beginning of Season 1. But today, his quality and his magic touch seems to be deserting him as Darwin Núñez now darts down this right-hand side. And he fires a ball in. Oh, my word. Almost beat Martinez there. It almost managed to just bend round him and go into the top left-hand corner. But fortunately enough for me, it bent away from the goal just as quickly as it bent towards it. But Sasha Bowie now has it down the right-hand side. Feeds it into Ollie Watkins. Has he got any options? No, he doesn't in the centre. Instead finds Vitina trying to bundle his way through. He does. Vitina, what a save from Oblak. Well, there's about 15 minutes remaining on the clock here for us to try and desperately find an equaliser. But it's Atletico Madrid who have the ball just on the edge of our penalty area. Iglesias now has it. It's well challenged though by both Vitina and Sasha Bowie. Now we have to try and see if we can bring this one out of defence. Lovely ball down the line into Moussa Diaby. Has he got the pace to go past Axel Witsel? Yes, he does. Look at the Frenchman go, but he just doesn't have any options. I'm going to try and see if I can cut it back into Ollie Watkins, who hits it with his left. It's blocked by the defender. And again, Atletico Madrid get it clear into Darwin Núñez. Less than 10 minutes remaining on the clock here. Rodrigo de Paul now has it for Madrid. He tries to play it back, but it's well won by Fratesi. Ollie Watkins, though, feeds it into Moussa Diaby. And again, the Frenchman knows he has the beating of Witsel for pace. Drives into the box. Has he got any options? Into Ollie Watkins. Again, it's blocked off. How many times are Madrid going to do that today? Koke into Iglesias. Just minutes, moments remaining on the clock here for us to try and desperately see if we can get one goal. Tapsoba comes across, puts the block in. It falls to Moussa Diaby. Has he got time to run the channel here? No, he does not. The referee blows for full time. And just like that, I shake my head. Our poor performance in the first leg has come back to bite us. The Aston Villa players are distraught. The fans are distraught. We really thought we could go all the way in the Champions League, but frustratingly for us, it just was not meant to be. As at full time here at Villa Park, it finishes Aston Villa 1, Atletico Madrid 0, but 2-1 on aggregate. And despite another solid display from our defence and a solid display from this man, Emi Martinez, Atletico Madrid are the team to go through. Our hopes of European glory are dashed once again, and after missing the target from the board to reach the final, as you can see from my rating, down to 61, my job suddenly looks like it's hanging by a thread. And it now puts an overwhelming amount of pressure on our FA Cup quarter-final tie against Manchester City. In some respects, it's the perfect opportunity for us to bounce back against a hugely influential team, but it is going to be a real tough ask here at Villa Park to try and pick ourselves up from the Champions League disappointment and try and find a way to get past the reigning Premier League champions. And due to that midweek game in the Champions League, a little bit of fatigue has crept into a couple of players, and that means I have had to make a few changes ahead of what is going to be a monumental game. Martinez does keep his place in goal as the Sasha Bowie taps over and Torres at the back, but Moreno comes in for a Stupinian on the left-hand side. Kamara's partnered by Ramsey and Fratesi in the centre. Zaniolo starts on the left, Moussa Diaby starts on the right, and Santiago Jimenez comes in place of Ollie Watkins, who drops to the bench. Well, here we go then. This is an absolutely must-win game here against Manchester City. No excuses. If we end up losing today, my job could potentially be gone even before the season starts. But just as we start, there are a few nervous legs here in the camp as Manchester City are the team in the ascendancy. McAtee out to Haaland. It's well challenged by Sasha Bowie, but we've given away a free kick in a very dangerous position here. And of course, who else is going to be that man, Kevin De Bruyne, who's going to step up to take it. It looks like he's going to try and hit it from distance. Rodrigo with the dummy, and Kevin De Bruyne, just like that, inside the opening 10 minutes, gives Manchester City a 1-0 lead, and that is not the start I was hoping for. Well, you just cannot give away silly free kicks like that in dangerous positions, especially when you've got the world-class sensation in Kevin De Bruyne, who is on hand to do this. He just lifted it above the wall. Emi Martinez couldn't get there quickly enough, and Manchester City, much to my frustration, take an early 1-0 lead. Well, as frustrating as it is that we have gone 1-0 down, at least it does leave us with a lot of time to try and make an impact and try and drag ourselves back into this game. We had to do it the hard way against Atletico Madrid and we couldn't get the job done. We're going to have to do it the hard way here today against our title rivals Manchester City. Can we get it done? Only time will tell, but we're not going to do it with poor passes like that. And now Erling Haaland is released. He was being chased down by Tapsoba, but it's the former Aston Villa man in Jack Grealish who's got it on the left-hand side. Lovely little flick into the path of Kovacic. It's Erling Haaland now. Erling Haaland and Manchester City have gone 2-0 up. Well, my defence just seems to be dragged all over the place and Manchester City just played their way through it. It was Tapsoba who was dragged out of position, and then in the end, Pau Torres had to come across and there was no one to stop the run of Erling Haaland. And when you give him that much time and space in the box, there is only one outcome. He gives Manchester City a 2-0 lead. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Is our season about to unravel before my very eyes? 2-0 here inside the opening 20 minutes, and we're yet to really fashion any sort of clear-cut opportunity. Jimenez, though, lays it off to Moussa Diaby. He tries to go around the corner back into Jimenez. It's well defended, though, but Jimenez manages to bundle his way back and get the ball back. It's Sasha Bowie now to give it into Kamara. Kamara to strike from distance, straight against the defender. Fratesi, though, feeds it out to Alex Moreno. He cuts it back for Zaniolo on his right. It's blocked again, this time by Gvardiol. Into Kovacic. We've got to make sure that Manchester City don't take a 3-goal lead, because if they do, perhaps that could be the end of the game already inside the opening 45 minutes. It's Jack Grealish, though. He just manages to knock it past Bowie really easily. Tapsoba's going to try and come across. He does come across. Brilliant defending. And then him and Bowie just get their wires all crossed up. What on earth is going on here today? We're 6s and 7s at the back here for Aston Villa. We've got to try and buck our ideas up here in the back end of this half if we want to try and get anything out of this game. Going forward, we've been poor. At the back, we've been poor. We've got to do something different. Zaniolo, though, does win it back into Jacob Ramsey. Moussa Diaby. He's taken out by Gvardiol. How on earth is that not a free kick? Diaby has stayed down. It looks like he's injured, and the referee in the end blows the whistle, and this potentially could be a real serious issue from the Frenchman. And frustratingly enough, it is. It means that Moussa Diaby is being forced off. I'm going to replace him with Leon Bailey, but my best attacking midfielder now out. And that is not going to help our cause today. João Cancelo, he's blocked off by Zaniolo. He's done a really good job of winning the ball high, and he feeds it into Fratesi, who's come into an advanced position. He checks back into Santiago Jimenez, who tried to strike. It's Gvardiol there with another block. Kovacic into Erling Haaland, who's come deep. Finds a ball into Kevin De Bruyne. That is not a man who I want to give a lot of space to. McAtee, though, now has it for City. We tried to put a challenge in, didn't manage to, and João Cancelo manages to go past Alex Moreno. Is he going to try and see if he can find a ball into the box? Cuts it back, though, for McAtee. On the edge of the box for Fratesi, who's had a really good game so far. Wins 2 challenges. Really nicely done by the Italian, and he was just about to release another one in Zaniolo as the referee blows for half-time. Well, it's very simple. We've got 45 minutes here to try and rescue our season, because, as I said, it is unravelling before my very eyes. Knocked out of the Champions League, and as it stands, we are about to be knocked out of the FA Cup, and potentially that could really leave me in a very dangerous position with the board. Moreno. Nice short pass into Santiago Jimenez, who's tried to get himself involved in the game. Tried to feed a ball out wide, instead plays it into Jacob Ramsey. Nice ball. He's going to look for Sasha Bowie on the right-hand side. Has he got any options? Doesn't seem to have any, though. He's weaving, turning, can't go past the Manchester City defence. And now Jack Grealish can bring it out into Erling Haaland. They're going to try and see if they can hit us on the counter-attack here. It's blocked off, though, by Jacob Ramsey. And now Whale one back here from Leon Bailey. He feeds it into Fratesi, who's been heavily involved so far in this game. Tried to feed it in, though, to Jacob Ramsey. But once again, Gvardiol was in the right place at the right time. And now João Cancelo can bring it down the right-hand side. Feeds it into McAtee in a lovely little pocket of space he's found himself in. Plays a ball to Rodrigo. Gets it back. Lovely little flick into the path of Kovacic. Into the box goes Kovacic. Tapsoba's trying to cover him off. Doesn't do a good enough job, and Kovacic is well saved in the end by Martinez. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures, and it means I'm going to try and switch things up here and go to a more narrow formation, but going to try and bring on 2 strikers who can hopefully see if they can do the business up front. But before we see if that formation can make any impact, we've got to defend this corner and make sure that we do not give away any sloppy goals. Tielemans on as another substitute, does a really good job of winning the ball back, and he plays it into another substitute in Ollie Watkins to try and bring this one out of midfield. Looks for the overlapping run, but it's well intercepted by João Cancelo. Alex Moreno with the throw. Fratesi has it, and Alex Moreno's going to ghost down the left-hand side. It's another poor ball, though. It's another one that João Cancelo is able to intercept. Harling out to Rodrigo. He does the dance around Pau Torres. It's a beautiful piece of play by the winger, and he continues his run into the box. Looks for Jack Grealish at the back post, who gets his volley all wrong. Rodri now on as a substitute for Manchester City. They are seeking a third goal to put this tie to bed. Phil Foden into Grealish. Haaland now has it. It was a good interception. Can we try and hit them on the counter-attack? Leon Bailey out to Fratesi. Fratesi cannot go past the Manchester City defence. It's been the story of the game so far. Rodrigo, he's almost blocked off by Tapsoba, but instead blazes his shot over the bar. Fires a ball all the way over to Alex Moreno on the left-hand side. He finds Fratesi. We've got literally a couple of minutes left on the board here to try and at least get one goal to restore some pride back into this team, and you never know, maybe somehow get an equaliser, but with Manchester City now in possession, it does not look likely. Phil Foden, look at his strides he's making down this right-hand side. Rodrigo just goes past one of my defenders, goes into the box. Rodri into Haaland. Haaland against Pau Torres. Fratesi has it. He lifts it over into the path of Sacha Boey as the referee blows for full time. Well, in the space of half a week, our season has gone from looking on to potentially get a treble to being knocked out of 2 cup competitions, and our season unravelling before our very eyes. Full time here at Villa Park. It finishes Aston Villa 0, Manchester City 2. Knocked out of the round of 16 in the Champions League, knocked out of the quarter-final of the FA Cup, and the final blow being that man Moussa Diaby being dealt with a huge injury that sees him blow out his ACL, meaning he is now going to be out for about 7 months. He's been our best player so far this season with the most amount of goals. He's the influential threat on the right-hand side, but with just 10 games remaining in the Premier League, if we're going to go all the way and potentially win it, we're going to have to do it without the exciting Frenchman. The bigger question for me, though, with us being knocked out of both the Champions League and the FA Cup, and my status with the board at an all-time low, the only opportunity I have to keep my job at Aston Villa Football Club is to win the Premier League. However, with the board now monitoring my performance, stating that I'm yet to meet the expectations for this season, am I even going to be able to see out the final 10 games? But if you want to find out, you're going to have to wait until the season finale, because that is that for the end of today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.